All right, so here we are with lesson number 2. Lesson number 2 actually starts with Matthew chapter 2. We're going over verses 1 through 6. Matthew chapter 2. Here's what we see, right? Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and what at that time is very important to get those details, those information in mind. King Herod was the overseer over that area, right? It says, now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. Here's why this is very important. Jesus was born, Herod was king, and we have the wise men. We know about all the songs that we sing, on the radio and everywhere during December time. People sing all those things about the wise men, about Jesus being born in Bethlehem, and all of that. But let's get a little bit more of in-depth understanding of what all of these things actually mean. In verse 2, it says, where the wise men, they say, where is he who has been born king of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him. Now, here's the thing. It's very key that the wise man says, he who has been born king. This is very important. Why is that so important? It's because the wise men, they acknowledge that a king was born. Now, I have to make sure that we understand. The wise men, knowing what's going on, following the stars, this is not to say that, hey, they had a revelation from God, right? They had a revelation from God. They were literally studying astrology. They were literally studying other things. And because, they were able to study the layout of the heavens and the stars and things like that, and got to discover certain things that is happening in the world. So the wise men got this knowledge, and it was not something that hey, they were serving God and God gave them a prophecy of something that was happening. We have to make sure that we separate that. Sometimes people say, oh, it's in the Bible. Why can't we do it? It's in the Bible. Not because it's in the Bible, meaning that it was an endorsement by God. This is just a report of what actually happened, right? This is what happened. It's just a report of what happened. Now, just wanted to clear that out so that we don't hear people saying, oh, so it's in the Bible that people study the stars and then they figure out what's happening. Yes, it's there, but it's not because it's an endorsement from God. It's not because it's God saying to do this. It's just because it's a report of what's happening, because the Bible is historical, right? So it also accounts for history, the things that were happening at that time. It reports on that. So if you are reporting on history, you don't really have the choice to take out all the things that are not godly and only put the things that are godly. You have to report both godly and ungodly things because it's history, right? So let's keep going. Now, the wise man said, he who was born king of the Jews. Now, right there from the beginning, not only we get the proper introduction of Christ, but we also have a conflict that just started. We get the proper introduction as king. At the same time, we get the introduction of a conflict because there was a king over the territory already. This is key to the rest of the Bible. There was a king in the territory already. You cannot have a king in a territory and then someone else is born and then saying that that person is born king. Not just that person will become king, but they say he who was born king. This is very, very important to keep that in mind, that Jesus was born king. And this is the beginning of the conflict for the rest of the life of Christ, because there was a king in the territory already. And then in verse 3, this is why the conflict already started, because when Herod heard about this, he was troubled. Listen, I am king, and now you guys are reporting to me that there was someone who was born king. What does that mean? That means, am I losing my power? Are we going to battle? Are we going to a war? What's happening? There cannot be two kings over a territory. It's impossible to have two kings over the same singular territory, not even separate. It's the exact same territory. There has to be a fight. There has to be a battle. There has to be a war, and one of them is going to finally come up as the actual king of that territory. So this is why Herod was troubled, because I am king. There cannot be another king in my territory, right? So what also happened? It says, and all the Jerusalem with him. So all the people in Jerusalem where Herod was overseeing, they were troubled with Herod as well, because they are in trouble. They are Jews, and apparently someone says the king of the Jews. Herod was not Jew. Herod was not a Jew. So now it's almost like the entire population is going to be against him. And the population, they want to preserve themselves, right? They want to preserve themselves. Therefore, now they are troubling, because they don't know what Herod is going to do with them. Since there is word out there saying there is a king that is born amongst them, and it's their king. So what is Herod going to do with them? This is why Herod was troubled, because his king, and then hearing that there is a king born. This is also why the population, the people, they were troubling, because, hey, we have a king over us. He's not even our people, and now there's rumor that someone is born king. What is Herod going to do with us? Is he going to kill us all? We don't know, right? And as king, he has power over every single one in the territory. So this is how we are introduced to literally a war, a controversy, a big issue at the very time Jesus Christ was born. Okay? And then we read in verse 4 that when he, Herod, had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. Right? So now Herod going on the offense, getting the priests, getting the scribes together, and said, well, based on your prophecies, based on the things that you guys have been teaching, where was that person supposed to be born? Where was that person supposed to be born? Because, hey, I have a plan for him, right? I have a little plan for him. This is not going to go down as easy as they think. I have a little plan for him. But that was things in the back of his mind. He didn't tell me he had a plan, but he wanted to know, right? And they told him, oh, in Bethlehem of Judea, as written by the prophet, right? As written by the prophet. So Herod got to know where was the Christ was supposed to be born, and it's based on the prophecy. So the worst of all is them telling him what the prophecy says. The prophecy says, but you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are not the least among the rulers of Judea. For out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Who was the ruler? Herod was the ruler. Now telling Herod that the prophecy says a ruler shall come out of, this doesn't make sense for Herod, right? Telling me someone is born a king, and now looking at your own prophecy saying that a ruler is born. I'm the ruler. No one else can be, right? So this has created a whole issue for Herod, for the people. As you can imagine, all the things going on, all the chit-chatting, people trying to figure out what's going on, what Herod's going to do with them, and Herod trying to figure out exactly what is his next step is going to be in that situation. So keep that in mind, because this is the end of our second lesson, studying the gospel of the kingdom, setting the foundation, setting the proper foundation for the rest of the things to come. And in lesson 3, we're going to even deeper to see what was behind Herod's mind, what was behind all of his plan, and what is next in that whole unfolding of the story that will bring us the gospel of the kingdom. I'll see you in the next video.